Greetings, Scrum cadets. Did you read your Scrum guide today or listen to it? Did you know I use Scrum more in my personal life than I do for a company? I use Scrum to create Mastering Millionaires, the serial Scrum Master book. I use it for this podcast. I use it to become a better person. And I use Scrum to build wealth for my family through trading in the stock market. Yeah, I can imagine the look on your face. The stock market. Yeah. I oftentimes get that response. I think people put Scrum in a box and just look at Scrum as a tool that you can use inside of a corporation that you work for. But in fact, I use Scrum more in my personal life than I do when I'm consulting for another company. Today, I want to show you how you can use Scrum to make money in the stock market, possibly even millions, depending upon what? Your mastery. See you back in a moment. Welcome to the Scrumcademy Podcast. I am Grand Scrum Master Scott. I had the pleasure and the privilege this past Friday night to study with some amazing future professional Scrum Masters and future millionaires. And one of their concerns is the job market is not that great. They're concerned about, okay, I'm getting ready to go do my internship. Will Scrum be applicable even when I'm done with my internship, even when I'm not working for a corporation? I said, beautiful question, beautiful question. So today I want to expand your mind a little bit and help you to understand that Scrum is about identifying what's possible. What is possible? Can you do the thing? Maybe we can't do the thing. And Scrum is a great tool for identifying what you can and cannot do. Now, that is applicable whether you are working for a company, Fortune 500 company is what I'm thinking about, visualizing in my mind, or whether you're using this in your personal life, whether you have your own business as an entrepreneur, whether you on Fiverr, whether you on Upwork, contracting your skill set out for the world to purchase. I think that would be a great use case for that as well. My question to the students on Friday night at the study session was, do you have a skill set that somebody is willing to pay for, whether you're working for somebody or not? And if the answer to that is yes, I believe the Scrum framework is an excellent tool for you to navigate that and get to a point of profitability, to get to a point of high customer service, to get to a point of high quality services or product, depending upon which one are you doing. Either way, I can make a use case that Scrum would be a great companion in that journey for you. Now, that conversation happened at the beginning of the study session, and about 2 hours later, we done studying the Scrum guide, and shout out to Jasmine. Jasmine asked me this question. Jasmine said, Scott, can I use Scrum to trade stocks in the stock market? I said, Jasmine, do you have time for me to thoroughly answer that question? She said, yeah. I said, well, I'll show you, because I do exactly just that. Use Scrum to trade stock in the stock market. It is part of my plan. And that's what I'm getting ready to show you. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to use Scrum to make money in the stock market to build wealth for your family. It is a great companion in terms of all the things you're going to be looking at, technical analysis, your personal research that you think is going to increase your probability of making a successful trade that day, that week, that month, or for whatever your goals and objectives are. I would make a case the Scrum framework is a great companion to increase your predictability and your profitability. So as I go through the framework in my mind today, if you're not familiar with it, this is your first time seeing the framework or seeing it dissected this way, I would highly recommend that you go to episode number 2 and take a look at that. That is where I deep dive in the Scrum framework, where I give my commentary and really just break it down in a lot of different ways. So if you need more information there, would highly recommend you do that. Without further ado, let's dive into it. This past Friday night, this is the same sheet that I showed Jasmine and everybody else that was on the call to answer her question. How can I use Scrum to trade stocks in the stock market? Before we dive into the framework, let's take a step back and ask yourself, what environment is the stock market? I'm thinking about the Ralph Stacey diagram. Is it simple work? Is it complicated work? Is it complex work? Or is it chaotic work? Because Scrum was made for complex work. So that's the first step, to identify what domain of complexity are you working in? What domain of complexity does the stock market fall in? Is it simple, where everything is known? Think you can just plan a trade and it's going to happen exactly like you planned it out in your mind or on paper? Probably not. Is it complicated work where there's more known than unknown? Is that the case about the stock market? Sometimes, it depends upon the day and the situation. Perhaps you could feel that way. Is it complex, meaning there's more unknown than known about what we're trying to do? Or is it chaotic? Very little is known. I would say the stock market, the complex domain, where there's more unknown than known about what we're trying to do. Okay, now that we have established that, now the question becomes, can I use traditional project management? Would that be the best companion for me to make the best trade in the stock market? Probably not, because that assumes that we're going to plan everything up front and then execute that plan. The same thing with lean methodology or Six Sigma. Those won't work. What else can we use? Technically use the scientific method, because all we have is a hypothesis, or we can use Scrum, because both of those fit very well in a complex domain. So now that we have established that, we have identified that we're going to use Scrum to trade stock in the stock market. And we have identified, why are we going to do that? Because as far as we could see, based upon the options that we have, Scrum would be the best possible tool to help us achieve our personal goal. All right. So we have identified why Scrum. That's what we talked about. So why use Scrum? Well, Scrum is going to help you manage complexity. Well, what's complex about the stock market? Well, you don't know what I'm going to do, and we don't know what anybody else in the world is planning to do in terms of, are they predicting the market's going to go up, predicting it's going to go down, or are they predicted to go sideways? For the most part, we don't know what the majority is going to do. We have prediction. That's all we have is a prediction. So we want to use Scrum as a great tool for managing complexity. Now, when you think about complexity, or to give you a visual of what that is, what that feel like, what that sound like, I want you to visualize the weather, Mother Nature. Mother Nature is complex, right? In terms of trying to predict the weather. Did you know before Scrum and Agile, the weatherman and the weatherwoman was the only person on the planet that consistently got paid to be wrong? And the other reason we want to use Scrum is so that we can minimize risk. Well, Scott, how are we going to minimize risk? Well, we're talking about a day trade. So that's going to be a 1-day sprint. When we put up our money for that 1 day, our maximum risk is what we put up for that particular day. Our risk of losing it all is that amount of money that you put up. Okay. So that's how we minimize risk, because of the time block of the sprint that we're going to be running. Now, thinking about the Scrum framework, there's a few things we need to get started with Scrum. Before we even start our first event, we have to have a product owner, we have to have a Scrum master, and we have to have some developers to do the work. Okay, do we have those persons? Yes, we do. All right. Then the next thing we need to have is a product backlog. Okay, so let's take a look at the product backlog. Now, the product backlog that I came up with, this is from 2017 when I wrote this. Yes, it's quite old, but still highly effective. In 2017, December is always my planning month of the person who I want to be, the lifestyle I want to live. I do that planning in December so that come January 1, I'm like a child waking up on Christmas Day, cannot wait to go into the living room where the Christmas tree is and open up those gifts. That's how I am on January 1, after doing some robust planning of the lifestyle, the person I want to become for the next year. So January 1, yes, that's the start of my execution of the plans that I wrote down in December. So in 2017, I researched a lot of companies and I narrowed it down to 4 companies that I think will help me get to my ultimate goal. Well, what is my ultimate goal? Well, my ultimate goal was I wanted to increase my current portfolio by 500%. That is my product goal, to increase my portfolio return by the end of 2018 by 500%. That was my goal. Now, after a lot of research, I identified that I believe that Tesla will get me there. I believe AMD will get me there. I believe NVIDIA will get me there. And I believe Zscaler will get me there. So those are the stock ticker symbols that I believe will get me to my destination of increasing my portfolio by 500% by the end of 2018. Now, I have a product owner, I have a Scrum Master, I have some developers to do the work. I have a product backlog of items I think will help me achieve my goal of 500%. Now I'm ready to come up with a sprint cadence. What is my sprint cadence? Well, I'm going to do a day trade. We have decided that we would like to run a 1-day sprint. Okay, fantastic. So let's assume the day is Monday and the stock market is open. I am going to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and be at sprint planning by 7:30 a.m. Now, I'm going to have sprint planning with the Scrum team. There's 3 questions I have to answer in sprint planning. Why, what, how? Why, what, how? Why, what, how? Okay, the first question, why am I doing this sprint? We, the Scrum team, have agreed that we are doing this sprint because we want to make $1,000 today. $1,000 is what we want to make today. Now that we have our why, now the next question becomes, what will it take for us to achieve that goal for today, for this sprint? Now, I'm going to go look at the product backlog from the developer standpoint. I'm going to go take a look at the product backlog, and let's say I believe Tesla and AMD will get me to my goal today. And notice I am creating what is called a sprint backlog in Scrum. Where did these items come from? These items came from the product backlog. We had sprint planning for the second question. What will it take for us to achieve our sprint goal of making $1,000 today? Okay. And we believe Tesla and AMD will help us to achieve that. Now we can move to the third question of sprint planning. How will Tesla and AMD make us $1,000 today? That's where we're going to collaborate and figure out how we believe that's going to happen, things that we need to do as developers. We're going to come up with that. And once we feel confident that we have some kind of idea, not the whole plan, but we have a clue, then we're done. Once we answer that question, how will Tesla and AMD make me $1,000 today? Well, basically, we only have 3 choices. Are we predicting the market's going to go up? Are we predicting the market's going to go down? Or are we predicting the market's going to go sideways? So we just need to figure out, based upon our research, technical analysis, and whatever else we're looking at, what is our prediction for that particular day based upon all the research and things that we have available to us to help us make the best possible decision based upon the information we have. Once we talk about the how we're going to get this done, how we're going to turn Tesla and AMD into $1,000 today, the output of that should be something called a trading plan. This is your trading plan for the day. This is your guide. This is your rules of engagement. These are the things that you're thinking about. Whatever that trading plan looks like for you, the output of the how Tesla and AMD is going to make me money today. Now, once we're done answering those 3 questions, as a Scrum Master, we're making sure we do not go over the time box, whatever that time box may be. But if you don't use all the time, that's perfectly fine. At sprint planning, when we achieve the purpose of the event, and we're done. The purpose of sprint planning is to plan the work that we're going to do for that sprint. Now, okay, we're done with sprint planning. Now, let's assume it is 9:30 in the morning. Stock market open at 9:30 in the morning. So at 9:30, I'm going to put my trade in for that particular day. Now, let me ask you this. We know we're working in a complex domain. You putting your trade in at 9:30 in the morning, perhaps. Will you just put your trade in at 9:30 in the morning and not look at it again until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? You could do that. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. Why? Because you are operating in a complex environment. Like the weather, anything can happen at any time. Mother Nature is not going to give you any notice. And she don't have to. She do what she want to do. When she want to do it. So I wouldn't recommend that. But in Scrum, we got this event called Daily Scrum. So I'm strategically going to check my trade at 11:30 a.m., 2 hours after I put my trade in, just to see how it's going. Is it going in the direction that I predicted? If so, great. Get it, baby. Get it. If not, then guess what? I need to inspect and adapt. Empiricism, right? Yeah, I need to inspect and adapt. Now, what if I put in some money and I'm significantly down at 11:30? Well, a Daily Scrum, 15-minute event for the developers for us to figure out how are we tracking towards achieving our sprint goal for the day. So at the Daily Scrum, we're looking at if everything going good with Tesla and AMD, if we predicted the market's going to go up that day and it's going up, great, do your thing. But what if we predicted it was going to go up and it's going down? That's a problem. So we have some potential options. Maybe I need to put Tesla on the bench and bring NVIDIA off the bench in the game. Yes, I'm thinking about a sports analogy. I'm thinking about, in most cases, that from my observations, when a sports team take a time out, Daily Scrum, when they take a time out, in most cases, it's because the game plan isn't going according to how they planned it. So they're going to take a time out to inspect and adapt. In most cases, not all. We have 15 minutes to look at if something going wrong. We need to figure out how to get it right so that we can achieve our ultimate goal for that day, which is what? To earn $1,000. In the Daily Scrum, we're going to talk about what we did, talking about how that's going. Okay, Tesla's doing good. Okay, AMD is not doing so good. Okay, well, maybe we need to put AMD on the bench and maybe bring Zscaler in. We have options, and that's what we're looking at, what we identified at Daily Scrum. If it's not going towards our sprint goal, we have 15 minutes to try to figure out our plan to get it back in the right direction. Very nice. Now that we've had Daily Scrum and we've gotten it going back in the right direction, if it's going in the right direction, great. If it's not going in the right direction, we're going to inspect and adapt and figure out within the 15-minute time block, what do we need to do to get it back going into the direction that we predicted, if at all possible. As Scrum Master, we're making sure the Daily Scrum does not go over the 15-minute time box. If you don't need the whole 15 minutes, fine. You don't have to use the whole time. But we're going to make sure that it does not go over the time box of 15 minutes. Now, at 4 o'clock, the stock market closes. I'm going to have sprint review. Now, some of the rules of sprint review is at the sprint review, we only show done work. In this case, since we talked about making $1,000 a day, I don't make $1,000 every day. Some days I don't make any money. Perfectly fine. But Scott, do we still have sprint review? Yes, we do. So let's talk about the sprint review. Let's fast forward. It is now 4 o'clock and we're ready to have sprint review because the stock market is closed on Eastern Standard Time at 4 p.m. Now, some of the rules of the sprint review is that we only show done work. That is the increment that we are showing. There's another artifact in Scrum. We have 3 artifacts. We have the product backlog, which represents future work. We have the sprint backlog, which represents current work. And we have the increment, which represents done work. In this case, since we're talking about making $1,000 a day, the increment would represent money. Did we make any money today? Okay, if we didn't make any money today, there's nothing for us to show at sprint review. Well, Scott, do we still have the sprint review? Indeed, because there's another piece of the sprint review that needs to be done. Okay, and we'll talk about that and I'll highlight that for you. But let's assume for right now that we did meet our $1,000 goal. And yes, we are at sprint review celebrating. We showing the money that we made that day. Very nice. Congratulations. Stakeholders are happy. Yes, it will be a great sprint review. So Tesla and AMD did deliver $1,000 worth of value that day. So that's great. That's the demonstration part of the sprint review. Now, there's something else we need to do. We need to identify, do we still believe that Tesla and AMD is part of our portfolio that will still help us get to our ultimate product goal, which is to get to 500% by the end of the year? I asked that question as well in the sprint. Now, let's assume, for the sake of showing you all sides of the coins, because not every day you're going to make any money. Some sprints you won't have anything to deliver. You won't have it. You won't have any money to show because you didn't make any money. Just a lot of things happen that you could not control. Perfect. So let's talk about that example. So let's say we get to the sprint review and we did not make any money today. We're not going to assume we lost any money, but we didn't make it. So what happens to what happens to Tesla and AMD if they did not make us any money? We don't have an increment to show. What's the next conversation that we should be having about these stocks? Now the question becomes, do I still believe that Tesla and AMD will get me to my product goal of achieving 500% increase by the end of the year? Do I believe that? We at sprint review. If the answer in both are yes, we believe that, we keep these stocks in our product backlog, my stock portfolio. Okay. They back now in my product backlog because guess what? I plan on trading these stocks again on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and on Friday. And here we are on Monday. We wasn't successful. I still believe that Tesla and AMD are part of the portfolio that's going to help me get to my ultimate decision. If the answer to that is yes, I'm going to keep them in my product backlog. Very nice. Now, once we're done with that at the sprint review, we're looking at the other stocks as well at the sprint review. Do I still believe that NVIDIA will get me to my ultimate goal? The answer is yes. Do I still believe in Zscaler will get me to my ultimate goal? Yes. What if the answer is no, Scott? Beautiful question. If the answer is no, then I'm going to research some other stock ticker symbols, some other companies, and say, not the best portfolio that I believe for me in my situation, in my circumstances. I'm going to research some other stock tickers and revise my portfolio based upon that research and what I believe with all the data that I have when I'm making that decision. Those are the things that we should be talking about at the sprint review, because the sprint review is all about, okay, based upon where we at today, what we know right now, do we still believe that we on track to achieve our ultimate product goal, which is in this case, to increase my portfolio by 500%? The answer is yes. Keep going the way you're going. The answer is no. I gave you some options to think about. Very nice. We're done with the sprint review. Remember, the sprint review is a Scrum team and the stakeholders. This is where we're going to show the stakeholders what we did for them. Now, after 4 o'clock, I'm pretty tired because my brain been working all day, and I'm going to have sprint retrospective strategically at 7 o'clock. Because on some days that I don't hit my goals, I don't make any money, I'm researching the market to see what happened throughout the course of that day. Then at 7 o'clock, I'm going to have sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is for the Scrum team. We're going to look at individual interactions, processes, tools, and that is the formal place that we're going to update our definition of done. I remember one day I did not achieve my sprint goal. We talked about that at the sprint retrospective. Well, Scott, you keep saying we. Who is we? Isaac, Scott, and Adam. That's not a Scrum team. Sure it is. Scrum Guide says specifically that we have to have one Scrum Master, one product owner, and developer. It does not say that that person cannot be the same individual. So I got me, myself, and I. Yes. So I'm still in compliance. Is that the best thing to do? Probably not. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to wear all the hats. You are the product owner, you are the Scrum Master, and you are the developer until you get to a point where you can scale and hire other people. So we're talking about you individually trading, and we're also talking about you using the Scrum framework to help you navigate the complexity of trading stock. But beautiful question. I get that a lot too. Go back to sprint retrospect. Yeah. So I remember one day I was going through my routine as normal. I wasn't thinking. I had a class on that particular day. And as you can see, I typically have daily Scrum at 11:30. Okay, that's my schedule. So this particular day, class, the lunch wasn't scheduled to happen at 12 o'clock. I didn't think nothing. I'm like, oh, 30-minute difference, not going to make a big difference. The students had some courses today, and I didn't get a chance to go check my brokerage account until about 1:30. And by the time I got to check my brokerage account, I had lost all the money that I put up for that particular day to trade and make my $1,000 goal. Ah, yeah, rough. hmm It even showed when I got back from lunch because my students asked me, "Hey, Scott, you okay? You look like I lost somebody." No, I didn't lose nobody. I lost something, some major thing, but not lose nobody. I'm just trying to figure it out, right? So the sprint retrospective, here's what happened. Well, here's what I concluded. Because when you're day trading, you have to be there on top of the situation in case if it's going down, you're going to have to inspect and adapt real quick to turn the ship around, if at all possible. Of course, by the time I saw it, it's too late. There's nothing I can do. It's zero. But now I'm at sprint retrospective. You know the 5 things that we're going to talk about, okay? I'm looking for that one continuous improvement item, right? So talking to me, myself, and Isaac, Scott, and Adams, we at retrospective, the product owner, the Scrum Master, and developers, we all in the room trying to figure out how did that happen? What can we do to put in place for the future so that will never ever happen again? So Isaac, he's the smart one of the trilogy. He's the smart one. He said, well, I know you the type of person that you're not going to be in the middle of a class and tell your students, hey, can you give me a minute while I go check my brokerage account and I'll be right back? You're not going to do that. No, I wouldn't do that either. Isaac said something very profound and simple. He said, Scott, why don't you do this? I said, okay, Isaac, what should I do? How about I would recommend that but you don't day trade when you teach in class, because when you teach in class, that is complex too. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the needs of the students are. You have a framework. You have a pretty much laid out schedule, but sometimes things maybe not go according to plan. Good point. Like internet go out or something like that. Great point. So that was a great suggestion from Mike. And Adams, do you agree with that? Yeah. So should that be our continuous improvement item for the next sprint and beyond? Oh, yeah. Yeah, then that costs us a lot. So, yeah, I would definitely say that that's what we need to do. We need to add that to our process. One of the 5 things we're looking at the sprint retrospective, right? Indeed. So that was my biggest retrospective continuous improvement item that stopped me from losing money. Don't want to break even, but certainly don't want to lose. So that is the sprint retrospective. What else can I highlight here for you? Oh, we got this event called Backlog Refinement. What does that look like? Now, Backlog Refinement is an optional event that you can do. I do Backlog Refinement every single day that I'm trading. Because remember, Backlog Refinement, we do that on the product backlog, on future work. We want to make sure the future work is ready to be taken into a sprint. So Backlog Refinement for me, what does that look like as it pertains to stock tickers? Well, backlog refinement would be me researching the things on Tesla for that day, AMD, NVIDIA, Zscaler. That would be my daily research. Hey, what's going on? That day that I lost the money, I projected it was going to go up. What happened that day? Well, that was the day that Mr. Putin didn't send me an email before he decided to bomb Ukraine. I projected the market will go up. And of course, when it happened, the market went down. I'm in class, don't know about it. Of course, when I checked the account, it's like, what the freak? Yeah. So backlog refinement is something I incorporate every day. Again, just checking news out, seeing what's going on. I'm doing backlog refinement to try to give me the areas to be ahead of the game. Definitely something I incorporate to what I do on a daily basis. Again, that's all about looking at the product backlog. That's all about me researching these stock tickers and making sure I know them well enough so that when I put my day trade in, getting ready for Tuesday, the next day. So backlog refinement is going to help me on Monday get ready for Tuesday because I'm going to run another step so that I'm going to incrementally earn my way to my ultimate product goal of 500% by the end of the year. 2018. Now, that's backlog refinement. According to the Scrum Guide, backlog refinement is an optional event. You do not have to do it, but hopefully I've made a case and given you some examples that you can see some benefit out of using backlog refinement as part of your daily trading activity. We're closing out the day, closing out the sprint on Monday. If you made money, that's fantastic. But if you didn't make money, that is also fantastic. Because now the question becomes, if I didn't make any money, what can I do to ensure that I do not make the same mistakes for the next day or any day moving forward? And that's where the continuous improvement item come in. So if you take a continuous improvement item in from Monday and you put it on Tuesday when you go through the same process, because all we're doing at this point is rinsing and repeating. We're going to have sprint planning. We're going to have daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective, backlog refinement if you choose to. And we're going to create a sprint backlog. We're going to plan for the strategy that day is going to be better than the previous day, the other day prior to that, because we have all these continuous improvement items coming in sprint by sprint. If we're doing that, you should be getting better day by day. To me, that is the fastest way to mastery, because you have those feedback loops built into the equation. Also, I want to think about on Monday, if we did not make any money, learning from your mistakes is the greatest teacher of all time. It's hard to learn anything when you win all the time. You just take things for granted. I'm supposed to win. Yeah, but when you lose, and it's a painful lose, that's why I learned the greatest lesson I've ever learned. When I really go in, deep dive and dissect what happened and learn from that and make sure I don't make those type of mistakes again. So we got Tuesday to learn, we got Wednesday to learn, Thursday to learn, Friday to learn. All these learnings, we at least taking one thing that we learned from the previous day. If you do that, I see no reason why you can't be successful in the end. But it is a learning curve. Yeah, this is all predicated upon your skill set coming into it. This is another mastery and millionaire strategy for you to leverage your Scrum expertise to build wealth for your family. Now, a couple more things I want to leave with you is a lot of my friends are using this strategy and they are making millions. Will you make millions? I don't know. But I would challenge you to become a millionaire, because this is one of my favorite quotes from Jim Rohn. The greatest reward in becoming a millionaire, not the amount of money that you earn, it is the kind of person that you have to become a millionaire in the first place. Woo! Isn't that powerful? Indeed. And my final thing I will leave you with today is the stats on people who day trade. Now, this is from Day Trading Stats, The Hard Truth. I will put a link to these stats in the description down below. Certainly some stats you need to be aware of, especially if this is your first time ever getting into stock and trading and you talking about day trading. But here are the stats for that. It is a high attrition rate. In fact, 40% of day traders quit within a month. Only 13% remain after 3 years. There's a low success rate. Only 13% of day traders maintain consistent profitability over 6 months, and a mere 1% succeed over 5 years. So let me translate that for you and put it in plain vanilla English. 99% day traders fail. There's several reasons to that. Certainly, if you wanted to attempt to do that, you need every resource that you have possibly imaginable so that you can be a part of the 1% and not the 90%. And for me, Scrum helps me be in the 1%, not the 99%, because every day I'm using a process, I'm using a strategy that gives me the ability and the opportunity for me to inspect what I did and adapt if it wasn't successful, and use that information to go into the next day, into the next trade, whatever the case may be, and I keep on improving and improving and improving and improving and improving. Will I get to a point where I'm getting every trade? Oh. I'm thinking about an athlete. Basketball, perhaps. My goal is not to hit every shot, but when it really, really counts, I definitely want to make sure I hit that shot. Yeah, when it counts, I'm going to hit that shot. Yeah. The game is on the line, and I got the ball in my hand. My family needs it, and I'm going to put this trade in and try to get them what they need and or want. Yeah. I want the ball in my hand. And that's a wrap. I hope that you can see the possibilities of Scrum now, how the framework can help you in a lot of things. Not many things I don't use Scrum for in my personal life, as well as using it for some corporation and company as well. As I teach my students, and hopefully you can find some ways that you can use it in your personal life. Would love to know how you're using Scrum in your personal life or how you're using Scrum in your business to create work for you and your family. I certainly don't know all the ways to do that. I just know the things that I like to do, and I use them for that. You probably saw my presentation. I have a product backlog for my vacations. I have a product backlog for my learning goals. I have a product backlog for many things. There's a way to keep me up on my skill set, as well as using a framework, using a tool that can help me be more effective and efficient. Since we're talking about the stock market, your goal is to increase your predictability. By increasing your predictability, you automatically increase your profitability. And that's what we're trying to achieve there. You're only limited by your imagination. I begin to think about Scrum outside of just using it for your company. I say our economy is changing. And for those of you who can't find a job, that's okay. Step back, ask yourself, do you have a skill set you can use? Maybe you're a former Scrum master during the pandemic and now you can't find a job. Take inventory, look at your skill set. Think about your skill set that you can monetize. Use the knowledge you learned from Scrum to do just that. And this is just one example, many, many more to come. If you like this video, by all means, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that doggone notification bell. Why? So that you won't ever miss an episode that we're going to bring for you. I wished I had recorded that episode on Friday night, but I didn't think about it until it was over, because there's a huge difference when you're recording something live and when you're recording something that's not live. There'd be plenty more opportunities for me to record things live for you, and I will certainly remind my brain to record. Because this is going to be something wow to the wow. I also want to take this time to thank each and every one of you for purchasing the Mastery and Millionaires book, Leveraging Your Scrum Expertise for Wealth, a serial Scrum Master's guide to agile success and financial freedom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so glad that you're getting amazing value out of it. Some of the testimonies I haven't had a chance to reply back, but I will. The first one I got was a student who read the book, and he was in the middle of negotiating for this major contract, full-time direct hire job, and I posted that on my LinkedIn profile where he negotiated $180,000. Now, when we last talked, that was the offer, but he was talking about countering that. So I'm looking forward to talking to him again, and what is the final number? But yeah, he read the book, and he also looked at the Give Yourself 100% Raise, the negotiation video I did. If you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. Hopefully you won't leave any money on the table as you are negotiating the money that you desire and want for you and your family. So thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know that book will help you on your journey, get to wherever it is you want to be in regards of Scrum Mastery and also financial independence. It's been a huge blessing to me and my family, and I want the same thing for you. As always, be agile, do Scrum, and be super duper legendary in all of your endeavors. I'll see you the next.